Hey guys, we are going to work on 4.6, and today that's going to be talking about right triangles, anything with a 90-degree angle in it, and that's when we can use hypotenuse leg. Okay, so let's look at this right now. If the hypotenuse and a leg of a right triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse and a leg of a second right triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. So let's look over here. I'm going to have to open up the false shortcuts in order for you to see. All right, we have our two triangles, triangle ABC and triangle DEF. They're right triangles, right? See how they're marked with this 90-degree box, 90-degree box? And then across from the right angle is always the hypotenuse. That's the longest leg of the triangle. Across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, the longest leg. Okay, so hypotenuse angle states it needs to be a right angle. They both have right angles. And you need a hypotenuse to be congruent. Both of these hypotenuses are congruent. And you need a leg to be congruent. A leg to be congruent. So there we have it. We have a hypotenuse that is congruent and a leg that is congruent. So we can say that these two triangles are congruent. AB and DE are congruent. AC is congruent to DF. DF, then ABC is congruent to DEF. But there's certain requirements I want you guys to look for. The conditions, okay? You need to make sure. The first thing you need to make sure of, if you want to look in to hypotenuse leg, the first thing is that there are two right angles. That's the big thing. The conditions for hypotenuse leg, that you have two right angles. Because if it's not a right triangle, you can't do it. And then the triangles need to have two congruent hypotenuses. Remember, the hypotenuse, if we draw out a right triangle, the hypotenuse is always directly across, here it is right here, from the 90-degree angle. Right. And then you need to make sure that there's one pair of congruent legs. Okay, so let's look at this example here. All right, well, the first thing, are they two right triangles? Two right angles, yes. Okay, do they have a congruent leg? Yes, they do. These legs are congruent. Are their hypoteni congruent? Well, here's this triangle's hypoteni across from its 90-degree angle, and it's marked with 3 dashes. And here's this hypotenuse of this triangle, and it's not marked at all. So even though it's a right triangle and it has a leg congruent, we couldn't say that it is congruent because the hypotenuses aren't marked congruent. Forgot my D there. Congruent. All right, well, let's look at this one. Okay, yes, they're right triangles. Check that one off the list. Oh, look, this time their hypotenuse across from their right angle, are congruent. And look, they even have a leg congruent. So hypotenuse, leg would work for these two triangles. Both hypotenuses and legs are marked congruent. And that's it for video 4.6.